Hi, this is David and welcome to Real.
From the roof at the break of dawn, I see the world where I begun, a fearless kid, fierce and strong.
My first question is, can you share the story of what inspired you to become a singer-songwriter, and when did you write your first song?
That's a very good question. I think a big inspiration for me to really start writing my own songs was Bob Dylan. I started listening to him when I was like 15, 16. Especially when I started playing his songs myself, I was just like, wow, how is it possible that one guy can write so many, phenomenal songs? And then I think that inspired me to write my own song for the first time, which was a track called Watching the Stars, which I actually ended up playing for quite a while. It was not like I actually liked that song. And I think I was 16 when I wrote my first song.
Can you tell us about the transition from being part of a band to embarking on a solo career? How does this change impacted the way you perform and the way you write your music?
That's another good question. I think I always already also wrote songs that I could just perform by myself. Mm-hmm. There were other things I wrote which were more really for the band, like for a band sound, and I came up with different parts and all of that. So at some point I started doing solo performances next to playing with the band. And then at some point it just actually became very difficult to organize everything around the band. It was a lot of, it's a lot of organizing, trying to get everyone together for rehearsals and everything. And I started to enjoy the solo performing also a lot. And then I actually started recording some songs by myself and I made an album. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I really started focusing on my own thing. So yeah, then the band sort of ended up on the back burner and eventually I was just playing by myself. Now I do play with other people sometimes, with a cello player or, it's not always just solo, but mainly, yeah. I'd actually like to play with the band again at some point, but I think I need to get my own songs out there first, so yeah.
And the name David and the Circumstances, where did that come from?
That's a funny thing actually. So my band was called The Circumstances. Uh-huh. That was the band that I was the frontman of, basically. And then I just needed an artist name because my name is David Groeneweg. It's a very Dutch name, so it's very hard to pronounce for people. In the UK or anywhere else in the world. And I thought it was a good name because it sort of describes in a way how I relate to the world or how I see myself as a singer-songwriter. You're always dealing with circumstances, anyone is, So I thought it was kind of funny, and it's also a little confusing, of course, for people because they think I show up with a big band or something because it's such a long name, but yeah, I liked it, so kept it that way.
Well, what's the best piece of advice you heard from other people that you think would help other inspiring artists?
Ooh, that's very difficult. I guess many people have said this, but I think an important thing is just to keep going with writing, especially because sometimes there are periods where you just don't really feel inspired. But sometimes you just need to work through that and keep, writing songs even though they're maybe not great. Or for me, I take a long time to finish a song usually. Some can come very easily, but sometimes I take a couple of years to write one song. I just have to come back to it, and I think that works for me. Because I know that there's something in there, like the song is there, but it just doesn't really come out yet. Usually, with an idea. So I think that would be advice. Yeah, if I would have to give it.
A bit of a funny one. Mm-hmm. If you could compare yourself to an instrument, what would you be and why?
Oh, surprising question. I would think of some string instrument, but it's not quite like a cello or, a violin, because that's too high. It's also not a viola, so it's some kind of weird mix between those things, I guess. Okay. If I think of my voice. And of course I play guitar, so it's different, but yeah. Like weird hybrid string instrument.
Okay, well, fair enough.
Okay. Is that okay?
Moving from the Netherlands to London, how has the change in location influenced your music and performances? Are there any notable differences you've experienced in the music scene? How is the music industry there and how is it here?
I think it's a lot more, there's just a lot more going on in the UK when you look at, and especially in London, when you just look at how many venues there are that are still active, and you can go to an open mic any night you want. So that was really inspiring for me. Because when I lived here, I was performing every week, I think. And it was just really nice to have so many opportunities to put my songs out there. And I mean, some gigs are great, some gigs are shitty. It also happens to be very fair. Sometimes people are just like, noisy, and it's hard to cut through. But others are great. So it's I think that's a big difference, that you have so many opportunities to share your music. There's more of a music culture here than there is in the Netherlands, to be very fair. What helped and what made a difference for me also is that because I was also teaching in music schools here, so I was just speaking English all day, and that also helped with my songwriting because I'm Dutch, and I think my English is pretty good, but it used to. I think it also improved.
Do you prefer writing songs in English or in Dutch?
I prefer English. I actually tried to write in Dutch and have one song that ends with 2 lines in Dutch, which somehow worked. But people, of course, that are not Dutch speakers don't know what I'm singing, but it's kind of mysterious, I guess. But I prefer English. It flows a little bit better.
My second to last question: if you could gain a new skill or ability instantly, what would it be and why?
Ooh. I think it would probably be to have perfect pitch. I think that would be pretty cool to have that. Because only 1 in 10,000 people have it. I think you kind of have to be. Apparently, everyone is born with it, but you lose it after a couple of years as a baby, unless you're like musically trained from a very young age. So I think that would be cool to have it.
Okay.
That's the only thing that came up right away.
That's great already. I wish
so
as
you
well.
can just you hear a chord, you know what it is right away. It's kind of a cool skill.
Yeah.
I've trained my ears, so I'm pretty okay. Recognizing things, but you never really are quite as instant as someone with perfect pitch. So,
Well, my final question is: as you work on new songs for your upcoming album, can you give us a glimpse into the themes and direction you're exploring with this new project?
I've been working on some songs that are actually use some more instruments as well. So I also want to record drums and stuff for a couple of songs. So it's not just acoustic guitar and vocals and piano. I think there will be some more instrumentation on there. And maybe also a little bit different sound. But still sort of the main focus, I think, is just like me as a singer-songwriter. So I guess still acoustic guitar and vocals is the sort of starting point.
And any theme love or any particular?
I think recurring theme in the songs I wrote in the last years is sort of overcoming struggle. I think because I've kind of been struggling a little bit, to be very honest. When I lived in London, it was very nice, but also kind of hard sometimes, because it's hard to survive in this city, And then I was in a long-distance relationship with my girlfriend. We live in the Netherlands together now, so that's much better.
Okay.
But that was hard, and so I think sort of working through these things, trying to find your way in life, I guess. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. That was my last question.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Hi, my name is David. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
In a train, some sit and wait, some work, some spin their gun. We get to see the track we left, but not the track we're on.